including staff? What about the staff? Good evening and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our AGM and celebration. My name is Shauna Curry. I'm the CEO of CAWST. And my first task this evening, other than welcoming all of you, is to officially showcase our new look. Yeah. Those of you who are on our mailing list will have seen this. Along with our new logo is a new website, and along with that is also our first online annual report. We've done a lot of work leading up to this, and I'd like to give you a bit of the background in terms of why. There's really 3 reasons why we embarked on this, and the first was that with all of the different ways that we use logos these days, we need to be able to use it on a small screen, big screen, on various different media, digitally and on paper. And our team was quite honestly just wrestling with being able to do that and expand and contract our previous logo. And so that's what sort of kicked it off, is to be able to have something that we could work well in all of these different spaces. The second reason was that as we were developing and launching new services, we ended up having 5 different websites, and each one of those websites looked different. So we were looking at those and going, okay, well, we need a consistent look and feel, but what is that look and feel? So you have to figure out what your look and feel is before you create the consistency across those websites. The third reason was, as many of you know, that we've been on this trajectory to increase our profile and credibility, mainly in the international development space. We want to be doing that here at home in Canada and Calgary as well, but our first priority is in the international development space. And we were recognizing that we're a world-class organization, and there's a minimum standard online that you need to be able to meet to be seen as that world-class organization that we are, I should say. And so that was the other thing, is that we needed to meet that in terms of the look, the feel, the navigability, if that's a word, and how to share our services and everything that we're doing in a way that people are able to access it and know who we are. So we know that what we've developed exceeds, it is that in the world-class category. We want to thank Good Company, who played a big role. I think they're here this evening. Good Company, who helped develop our logo and the look and feel that's behind that and the design of our new annual report. And the majority of the work was done in-house. And so I'd like to recognize Olivier, our Director of Communications, who's in the box in the back. You can see him if you look back there. Melanie Thiessen and Chris Mason, who are really the core of the team here in CAWST. So that's us. I hope you like it. We do. So I hope you do too.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Taryn Myers, and I'm your MC for this evening. Just going to get some housekeeping out of the way. We're all here this evening, and therefore I'm going to assume that sanitation is important to all of you. Therefore, just a quick direction on the bathrooms if anyone needs to sneak out. They're near the elevator, just past there. And in the reception as we go upstairs, they're in a similar position near the elevator. The second thing I want to bring to your attention is that this evening we are live streaming this event and our AGM. So you'll see the movie cameras in the middle there. So hi to anyone out there that's watching. Welcome. And finally, just a quick run through the agenda. We're going to start with about a 10-minute AGM and then move into the celebration portion of the evening. We'll hear a speech from Shauna to inform everyone on what we've done and where we're going, and then we'll all go upstairs and enjoy some refreshments together. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our chairperson this evening for our AGM, Mr. David O'Brien.
Thanks, Taryn. The formal part of the AGM should be relatively brief so we can get on with the more interesting parts. Welcome to CAWST's 2015 Annual General Meeting. My name is David O'Brien, and I'm the chair of the board. We have confirmed a quorum for this meeting. All eligible members would have received a voting card at registration. Please use these cards to vote for the motions as we proceed through the meeting. All motions require a simple majority. We've allowed online voting on the motions prior to the AGM for members who are unable to attend. These votes will be considered as we move through the motions, although I don't think we'll really have to worry about it too much. I will now officially open the meeting. As per the bylaws, I will chair the AGM, and I appoint Anisha Correa as secretary of the meeting. Before we vote on the motions, I'd like to ask if there are any questions regarding the matters with respect to motions, which would include the financial statements, which I believe were out on the table for the last year, the appointment of directors, the appointment of the auditors. Does anyone have any questions on any of these matters? If not, then we'll proceed. I request a motion to approve the 2014 audited financial statements. Someone move that? Shauna moves it. Someone second? Second, thank you. Any further discussion on the audited financial statements? If not, all those in favor, please raise your card. Opposed, if any? The motion is carried. The second matter then is to elect the directors. And there are 3 board members who have retired from the board as effective as of now. One was Terry McCoy. The second is Ken Bagan, who was the chair of the governance committee. And the third was Evan Hazel, who was a member of the audit, finance and risk committee. CAWST thanks each of them for their contribution to CAWST and its cause. The following directors are standing for re-election for the board, and they are Greta Raymond, Shauna Curry, David Boone, Sean Cornett, Camille Dow Baker, myself, David O'Brien, Chris Reed, Roger Smith, and Ora Zablosky. Are there any other nominations? If not, I would then ask for someone to make a motion that these 9 persons serve as directors. Would someone so move? Thank you. Was someone there to second that motion? Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your cards now. Opposed of any? The motion is carried. I now request a motion to appoint KPMG as the auditors for the 2015 fiscal year. Would someone make that motion? Is there a seconder for that motion? Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor of the motion, would they raise their cards? Opposed, if any? I declare the motion to be carried. I would like to thank the members for their ongoing commitment to CAWST, and having carried out the major purposes of the meeting, I would now request a motion to adjourn the 2015 AGM. Would someone so move? Would someone second that? Thank you. All in favor, raise your cards. I declare the meeting to be adjourned, and now we get on with the more important part, and I'll turn over to Taryn.
definitely more fun. Okay, so we get to start the celebration portion of our evening, and in CAWST fashion, we start with a few special recognitions. And this year, we are celebrating a particularly exciting birthday. It is the 10-year birthday of our Wavemakers program this year. So every year for the last 10 years, we have hosted a youth summit where youth explore local and global water issues, develop a project that they can execute on during the school year. Youth have motivated their schools to conserve water by installing low-flush toilets and rain barrels. They've raised awareness in their schools by selling refillable water bottles and running talent shows. But their work goes far beyond that. They have raised over $167,000 towards CAWST's overseas work, and they have reached over 100,000 Canadians with knowledge about local and global water issues. Over the years, we have had an incredible team work with our Youth Wavemakers program, and the current team is no exception. I'd like to ask the current Youth Wavemakers team to please stand as you're named. Starting with Michelle McDonald, Julie Murray, Janae Liu, Maureen Darling, a volunteer, and Arlene Bourne, also a volunteer. Stay standing, because I see a lot of familiar faces in the audience this evening, and so I'd like to also introduce any staff alumni that have worked on the CAWST Wavemakers team, as well as any alumni of Wavemakers or any teachers in the room that have been part of this phenomenal program. Please stand and be recognized. Thank you so much for your contributions.
I use the CAWST Wavemakers program because it really impacts the kids. It's an opportunity for them to not only hear about global issues and local water issues, it also educates them on a level that you don't see with any other partnership organization. And I really feel that it treats the kids like young adults, and it gives them the opportunity to take action, which is something that's rare. And by taking action, it becomes intrinsic in them, the learning, the opportunities, they become lifelong advocates of global issues.
Wavemakers has taught me that making a difference in my community starts with small steps. So in order to reach the bigger goals, you have to start by creating awareness and getting the attention of the people in your community in order to make changes.
What I've learned at the Wavemakers program is a great deal about water conservation and teamwork as well, because you really have to incorporate a lot of people and people power to get to your goals that you want to accomplish.
I use the Wavemakers program to broaden our students' perspective in the global issues that exist for water. Water is a community concern, and to some extent then they're able to identify with other communities that have issues of their own related to access to clean drinking water.
What motivates me to take action on local issues is that I believe that most people simply aren't aware of some of these issues that our world and country is facing. So if we can create awareness within our communities and our cities, then we can really create a larger impact.
My understanding of myself as a global citizen motivates me to become involved in local issues because I understand that every action that I make on a local level will impact the world as a whole.
It connects them to their neighbors as well as other countries and other communities that may be in need of their help, but also may be available to help them.
The impact that Wavemakers has on students doesn't just include the classroom and the four walls that I teach in. It changes their world and how they see their environment. It creates open-mindedness and awareness in their own lives and what they can do to make a change for the better of for all of us.
Being part of the CAWST Wavemakers program, especially the Youth Summit, is probably the number one thing you can do for your students to make them go from just passive to active learners to global citizens and people who will take action to make the world a better place.
It introduced me to the water aspect of development, which is something I never really considered until I became part of the program. So now I plan on studying water in international development.
I'm learning that you don't have to be an older person to make a change in this world. And through youth, you're able to make one of the biggest differences you can, because we're so energetic and we have these strongholds in our communities. So it's teaching me that I don't have to wait till I'm older to be something I want to be. It can start now.
I realized by being part of the Youth Summit and the Wavemakers program that having the students take action really was the important part. Education is the start, but once they start taking action, they take ownership of their learning, and that's what makes them global citizens for the rest of their lives.
The next is per CAWST tradition that we recognize staff, board members, and who've been working and giving service to CAWST for 5 and 10 years. And this year, we've got a 3 in the 5-year category. But there's a story that goes ahead of it that I want to share in terms of what the gift is. I remember Tex Taishon, who's a Rotarian, coming back from Uganda, and he was showing off. He was so proud of these little biosand filters that are made out of wood in Uganda, and they were on keychains. And Camille, our founder, came out, and she's like, "Whoa, this is our 5-year gift." I think I was in my 2nd or 3rd year as a staff at CAWST, and I had no idea that she was thinking about the commitment that people were making to the organization and wanting to recognize it in a special way. I'm not sure who the first person was getting it, but the first person I remember getting one of these was Chris Reed, and as one of the board members. And if you've ever been thanked by Camille, you know that she thanks from the bottom of her heart. And so the tradition continues from the bottom of our heart. Oh, and she got like about 100 of these made because she, by text to bring it all the way back from Uganda in order to be able to thank those that serve CAWST for 5 years and onward.
Thanks, Shauna, for the history. So this year we actually have 4 staff and associates that have been with us for 5 years. All 4 started with CAWST as international technical advisors between 2005 and 2009. They each worked at CAWST for a few years, then left on some other adventures, and then came back to us. So I'll go through them all first, and then we'll have them come up to receive their gifts. Starting with Millie. Millie was an international technical advisor for CAWST for Southeast Asia for over 4 years. During that time, she helped secure CAWST's first Canadian government funding and helped establish CAWST's Wet Centre strategies. After several years in Calgary's corporate social responsibility sector, Millie rejoined CAWST in 2014. She works alongside Shauna on CAWST strategic initiatives. We appreciate her insights and infectious smile. Thank you, Millie. I don't see her. Millie, are you here? Oh, okay. Come on down.
And while she's coming down, I wonder if some of our guests could move into the more into the seats in the sides so that people who've slipped in can sit down. Thank you.
Next, we'd like to thank Emily. Emily Saint-Martin was an international technical advisor for Francophone Africa, Haiti, and Latin America. She's very talented linguistically. Emily returns to our global services team after having 2 very beautiful children who are here this evening, and helps us out on virtually anything that is needed. She has an unwavering reliability, a calm and genuine nature, and brings invaluable experience and wisdom to CAWST from her prior work and her work with CAWST. Thank you, Emily. Please come up. The next 2 staff that we're thanking are unable to join us this evening, but I'd like to thank Paul Earwaker. He was an international technical advisor for Latin America for 4 years. He helped to take our work in Latin America to the next level by working with over 100 clients. He then left us to work full-time in Africa with his wife. But he's back as of last year. This time he's working in Africa and he's based in Kenya. So congratulations to Paul for being with us for 5 years. Andrea Roach was an international technical advisor for Latin America. She went back to school to become a translator and has been CAWST's translation coordinator for the past 3 years, helping us fulfill our commitment to providing our education materials in English, French, and Spanish. Thank you to Andrea. We also have a special 10-year anniversary this year. So fun as we get older, we have all these staff that stay around longer. So Tommy and I started working with CAWST in 2005. In 2006, he started his PhD at Cambridge University and worked part-time with CAWST throughout. Tommy's studies have always been relevant to CAWST. During his master's at MIT, he developed a way to remove arsenic using the biosand filter. His PhD was focused on successful implementation of household water treatment. Tommy assumed the role of Director Research Learning in 2011. We appreciate his steady demeanor and commitment to accuracy. Thank you, Tommy. And of course, our team would not be complete without our volunteers. CAWST's team of volunteers are critical in helping us to move forward across all of our departments on everything from research to administrative work and even carrying out event logistics. We want to welcome 2 very special volunteers this year up on the stage, Alex Soltani and Janelle Nicholson. Feel free to come up if you're in the room. Alex has helped our research learning team in advancing the research on the biosand filter's performance and improving accessibility of information on CAWST's online platform. Thank you for all your tireless work. Janelle. Janelle has worked diligently helping us rewrite our workshop descriptions to better market them to our global audience. Thank you for all your creative input. And thank you to all of the volunteers this evening that are in the audience. We thank you so much from the bottom of all of our hearts. We could not do what we do without you. Your service to us is invaluable. So a big round of applause for everyone sitting here tonight because you've all contributed. And Shauna, you're up.
The official report from me. As I think of our past year and what I want to share with you, what stands out for me is just the sheer quantity of what we've accomplished. And most importantly, that 2 million more people are using better drinking water and sanitation, bringing our total to date to 11.4 million people with better water and sanitation. One particular moment that stands out from last year was in April when an earthquake hit Nepal. Some news hits closer to home than others, and for our team at CAWST, this was one of those times. The earthquake from the other side of the world shook us all. It's hard to be here when people that we care about are impacted. What unfolded, however, was groundbreaking for CAWST, for ENFO, a Nepali organization, and I would venture to say for the humanitarian sector. Our relationship with Nepal started in 2004 when Tal, Tommy, and I did our first training in Nepal with ENFO. Over the past 10 years, we've worked closely with the ENFO staff in building the capacity of their trainers. When the earthquake hit, UNICEF contacted ENFO to provide training. ENFO worked remotely with our staff to develop a training program. Within just a few days, ENFO was training a fleet of 500 youth volunteers who went out into the camps to train on water, sanitation, and hygiene. They also distributed tens of thousands of bottles of chlorine to treat the drinking water. What was groundbreaking for the sector was that we provided an example of how to build resiliency of the local population, something that the emergency sector has been trying to achieve for decades. ENFO was able to hit the ground running with effective training because of the prior work that we had done together. Incidentally, UNICEF was pleased with the results and has contacted ENFO for more training. The situation in Nepal is a case that required immediate response to ensure health through water. At the same time, all around the world, people are facing challenges in meeting their needs on a daily basis. They don't make the news. Take Haiti, for example, another country that CAWST has been working with since our early days. Over 72% of Haitians do not have access to basic sanitation, and 42% lack access to safe drinking water. In 2010, you heard the news of the earthquake, and shortly after, you probably heard the news of the cholera outbreak. How many of you have heard that since then, Haiti has upwards of 700,000 cases of cholera, and cholera has taken the lives of almost 10,000 Haitians. Some societies are better equipped to solve their challenges in accessing safe drinking water and sanitation, and many still require help. This is why CAWST exists. Today, 1.8 billion people are drinking fecally contaminated water, and 2.4 billion people do not have access to a toilet. This translates into 40 children dying per hour, not to mention the impact that diarrhea has on health, the ability to go to school, to work, and to be contributing members of society. So in the past year, we've actually been really pleased to see that there has been a major shift in the discussions and the recognition of the importance of water for health and as key for poverty alleviation. We are hearing people speak to, increasingly, we are hearing people speak to the importance of ensuring safe water and to building human capacity. Just this past Friday, the United Nations ratified new Sustainable Development Goals with targets set for 2030. These goals are intended to be aspirational towards alleviating poverty globally. We are pleased that water is now a high-level goal, that it focuses on safe water and not just access, that it includes sanitation, and that it highlights the need for capacity development as a means for reaching the goal. From an economics viewpoint, in January, the World Economic Forum, for the first time, placed water as the #1 risk to our people and our planet. This was from an annual survey of nearly 900 leaders in politics, business, and civic life on the world's most critical issues. And specific to poverty reduction, as reported by Bloomberg, 267 economists from 44 countries have published a declaration advocating one particular way for helping the world's poor: make people healthier. This starts with the basics: water, sanitation, and hygiene. Amidst all of this attention that the world has been giving to water as an underpinning for everything, the fundamental fact remains that there is a massive shortage in human capacity in water. I've shared this statistic with you before. Almost 800,000 people are needed needed in 10 countries, and this is just to get people basic water and sanitation. It does not speak to the need for specialists in water for agriculture and other industries. If we take Tanzania as an example, if all of Tanzania's engineering schools were to train only water and sanitation engineers, they would add 500 people per year to their water workforce. Tanzania needs 18,500 water and sanitation professionals now. The shortfall is striking, and I'll let you do the math in terms of what is needed for the rest of the developing world. If we are going to achieve universal access to safe water and sanitation, we need new approaches like CAWST to complement the traditional academic routes. Many of you have seen this image before, representing the capacity gap in our sector, water and sanitation for health. At the top of the water drop is where the fewest number of people with the most specialized knowledge. At the base of the water drop is where the greatest number of people reside with the strongest knowledge of their local contexts. The base is where the greatest opportunity exists to motivate sustained change at the scale needed. For the past 14 years, CAWST is the only organization in the world that has been solely focused on figuring out how to close this gap. When we invest in people at the base, we have seen that change happens quickly, people become more resilient, and water, sanitation, and hygiene reach the people who need it most. Millions of people are taking care of their own water as a result of CAWST work with hundreds of organizations. While there is much work to do, CAWST is undeniably addressing one of the root causes of poverty, and doing so in a way that is transforming lives. We are training and supporting hundreds of organizations around the world. We call these organizations our clients. They include government, local and international non-government organizations of all sizes, and entrepreneurs. Most notable this year is a major increase in the number of government clients that we have been serving, from 5 to nearly 28%. Local government is essential for systemic change and sustainability. We have a number of clients here in Calgary doing some great work overseas, and usually there's some here tonight. If there are any of our clients in the audience right now, could you stand, please? Here we go. Fantastic. I would encourage you to come and talk to these three in the reception and find out who they are and what their story is. How do our clients access our services? They're accessing our services in 3 main ways. Direct support from CAWST, from our staff. We provide training and consulting support in person, over the phone, and by email. Through what we call our virtual wet center. This is a collection of knowledge and resources that we make available online for our clients to access at their convenience 24/7. And from our water expertise and training center partners, or wet centers. CAWST has built the capacity of other organizations around the world to deliver the same types of service that CAWST does. These organizations are supporting local clients that CAWST could never reach. CAWST's 8 wet center partners are at different stages of their development, and CAWST continues to support them as they grow towards independence. We have put together a short video clip for you on the work and the impact of our wet centers.
The water and sanitation situation in Nepal is very poor because still more than 10,000 under 5 children are dying because of diarrheal disease.
The water and sanitation situation in Zambia is appalling.
A lot of children that get diarrhea or other types of disease. And when people have safe water, they get a better life.
The Wet Center model, or the Water Expertise and Training Center model that CAWST has, is our replication strategy. Instead of us going around the world and setting up offices in different countries, we thought it would be better if we work with organizations that already exist in those countries, organizations that know the context, organizations that know the language and know the culture. And it wasn't hard to find those organizations. We have 8 organizations right now that have stood up and said, we want to do what you do.
And so with CAWST and the Wet Center model now, we have all these local organizations that really work hard with communities to ensure that they have the support and the knowledge and the education to use a technology that really works for them.
We're bringing that to them, and so supporting them to improve, and in some cases also challenging them to say there's better ways of doing things and we can help you do things better, reach more people.
The Wet Center model is really unique in the context of Nepal and in the context of developing countries. Yeah? Because what often donors and funding agencies and NGOs they really want is to provide funding in infrastructure such as giving away the filters, building the latrines and so on, which is more tangible. But if you are constructing the latrine, if it is not supported by some of the components like awareness raising or behavior change communication trainings, then people are not using the latrines, you know.
Think about it, right? You know, the only way that you can transform a community is through people. Technology doesn't transform communities. Technology doesn't transform your life. Yeah, it can make things better, or it could, but it's people. What CAWST does differently is takes a long-term approach to a long-term problem and commits to walking alongside and being in relationship and being part of the community that wants to see and is working towards transformation in water and sanitation, which is the essence of life. Water is life.
CAWST is only one organization in Calgary, Canada. But by working with our Wet Center partners, we have been able to reach millions of people around the world with better water and sanitation. CAWST believes in people, in the fundamental ability of all people to learn, and through learning take action for their own lives.
You know, I guess at the end of the day, we would like to work ourselves out of a job so that those guys can do what we're doing.
We are having 10 years of wonderful partnership with CAWST, and CAWST is always supportive to us.
The education and the knowledge empowers them to make informed choices.
The things we are doing can save a lot of lives. You know? It can change the community.
So when water knowledge is common knowledge, then that's when we know we have transformation.
It feels great. Sort of makes you feel like, yeah, we can do this after all.
We're not finished until everybody has the opportunity to succeed because their basic water and sanitation needs are met.
I wish each one of you could spend a day of the life of one of our staff in our office, because we get stories like this frequently and it moves us to tears. It has us celebrate. It has us driven to continue doing what we do. And now moving on, the result of the wet centers, Taryn alluded to millions. Our Wet Center partners now have 200 of their own clients, and those clients have reached 2.6 million people with better water and sanitation. Thanks, yeah. CAWST's direct services to clients without the Wet Centers, since we were founded, has resulted in a total of 6.5 million people with better water and sanitation. You can keep clapping. And our virtual wet center which we just launched 2 years ago, is serving over 3,000 organizations in 164 countries. And those that reported through the virtual wet center that have not received any other service from us through any other route have reached 180,000 people so far. The response to our virtual wet center in just 2 years has demonstrated to me the need for our services, and that with our services we're hitting the mark in the types of services that we provide. A few weeks ago I was in Stockholm for World Water Week, and there's a number of high-level discussions and side meetings, and one of the highlights for me, or most rewarding moments, was when this younger fellow from Lebanon who had just starting up a business, he comes over to me with his eyes sparkling and smiling, saying, "I know CAWST. I downloaded your water quality testing manual a few years ago, and it has been the best resource for me." So add up all these numbers, and this is how collectively we've reached 11.4 million people to date with better water and sanitation. Equally exciting for us is the ripple effect of our training. Last year alone, an additional 1.7 million people have been trained by other organizations who are using our materials to train others, for a cumulative total of 5 million people trained. I've given you a lot of big numbers, and this one, 5 million, that's 5 million individuals at the base of that water drop at the local level who now have increased knowledge and skills to take action in their communities. Closer to home, we've been successful in applying CAWST's international model to our Youth Wavemakers program. We use education to ignite action. As we celebrate 10 years of our Youth Wavemakers, what I'm most proud of is that each year the action projects by our youth get better and better. And this to me is a reflection that we get better at engaging and educating and inspiring youth and inspiring the teachers to take action. One exciting undertaking for this year is that we're launching our first ever virtual Wavemaker Summit, an online course for educators anywhere to connect their students with classrooms across the country and with their local water partners. With our Wavemakers program, we are truly building global citizens. Those youth are taking actions at home and overseas. In 5, 10, 15 years, many of them will be contributing their skills and knowledge to solve the world's water challenge for generations to come. Our results have been impressive through the last 3 years of growth, and we've developed new ways for clients to access our services. Going into 2016, we are in a great place to strengthen and execute our service delivery at CAWST to more clients, to expand the information available through our virtual wet center, and to continue to support the wet centers to increase the quantity and the quality of their services. We have learned that our services are helping clients start, strengthen, and grow their programs. We're helping them save money, and we're improving the quality of their projects. And we're helping them reach more people with safe drinking water and sanitation. Despite the need globally, 1.8 billion people who are drinking contaminated water, there is no one else in the sector who is providing the services that we are. What gives me confidence in our plans is the strength of our team. We have built a 50-person team of experienced professionals with a unique complement of engineers, educators, and researchers. Our team members hail from 10 countries, speak 18 languages, and have worked in 100 countries. Collectively, we have 3 PhDs and 17 master's degrees from Canadian universities and the likes of Cambridge, Cranfield in the UK, and Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and MIT in the US. But most impressively, when you meet our staff, you can feel the passion and commitment to CAWST and our cause. They consistently go above and beyond in their mission to make the world a better place. We have this year a larger complement of staff than usual at the AGM, and I'd like to get them all to stand and ask you to help recognize and thank them for all of the work that they do. Thank you, team. You really are wonderful to work with. You'll notice they're all wearing the blue scarves. Find them in the reception, talk to them, hear their stories. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our board members. We would not be where we are today if it was not for you. I've been trying to think up how to sum up your oversight, cheerleading, when you decide to dig in, when you step back. And overall, I'd have to say that I think you've got the right touch. Thank you. We learn a lot from and with you. We're a very lucky team to have you in our court. I'd particularly like to recognize and thank our two board members who are stepping down this year, Evan Hazel and Ken Bagan. It's been really great to work with both of you. Oops. Now, on to the money side. Financially, we're in a strong but challenging position. Over the next 5 years, we have an annual average budget of $5.5 million. For 2016 and 2017, we have raised $3 million per year. For 2018 and 2019, we have raised $1.5 million per year. Our Canadian government funding for our wet center program concludes this year, which leaves us a gap to fill. We continue to seek a diversity of funding with the primary target being large international funders of water and sanitation, and by growing our earned revenue stream, that's a fee for service. We will also continue to seek to renew a partnership with the Canadian government after the election's done, obviously, and to grow our base of support by individuals, community groups, and companies. Our next big step for us is to increase our profile internationally and in Canada to reflect the depth and the caliber of our work. While we've made significant headway, we still have much to do in this regard. Our most consistent and reliable funding has been you, the Calgary community, and I want to take this opportunity to thank you for your ongoing support over the years. You have helped us build the organization that we are and are a big, big part of our success today. We ask for your continued support. I have a few specific thank yous for longer-term strategic funding that have been invaluable in developing new programs and in enabling us to be innovative and entrepreneurial. Thank you to David O'Brien, who has been investing in CAWST since 2004, and he's been investing in CAWST as an institution. He will speak to us in a moment. Thank you to the Canadian government, who over the past 9 years has invested in us, most notably for our work with the Wet Centre program. And the City of Calgary, Suncor Energy Foundation, Talisman Energy, Cisco Foundation, Rotary Club of Calgary, and Sproul Associates, who have funded us over the past 3 to 10 years. The ongoing commitments are invaluable to us. And most recently, thank you to Calgary Foundation for helping us expand our Youth Wavemakers program online. So funding aside, our biggest challenge is working with our wet centers for them to obtain independence in their service delivery and also financially. It's not going to be easy, but we know that directionally this is the right way to go and exactly what we need to do. The results speak for themselves. To conclude, I have one final graph that I'd like to share with you. Our team, together with our wet center partners, have exceeded our yearly targets, creating a trend line that looks like this. We have a strong team in place with relationships, trust, and determination that are second to none. I have no doubt that we can exceed our targets of reaching 20 million people by 2020. And that this little girl along with so many others, will remain healthy, go to school, and raise healthy children of her own. Thank you. Great. Sorry, this is why we have an MC. I will now open the floor for questions. Are there any questions for me on this or anything else? Yes. Well, you can, and we will tag it to it. It is more cost effective to give it to us at a strategic level and have us decide where it goes, because otherwise we need to be tracking dollar for dollar which country it goes to. But yes, if you said, you know what, I'd really like to have my contribution go towards Zambia, we can track that. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? None? Okay. Oh, now we've got some. You just had to think of it.
Thank you. See, the contaminated water going through the biosand technology, there's a cost involved and thing, and everybody cannot be trained. Sometimes it's very difficult to go deep in the jungle and bushes. How difficult it is rainwater harvesting and then purifying that water? Thank you.
Rainwater harvesting is an excellent option in many areas, and that is one of the trainings that we do, is the rainwater harvesting. What we do with our clients is we'll work with them to figure out what are the best options for their specific scenario. Yeah. And there was a second question over on that same row, I think. Over here? Sure. Okay. The question was what the process would be and how it happens. Yeah. How does Wet Center get set up? The history of it is actually CAWST initially thought we would just train other organizations to train, and we wouldn't be training clients directly. We realized really quickly that that wasn't going to be the case, that we needed to work and directly provide training to organizations. And what happened was, just as we were starting to look for training organizations who'd been implementing came to us and said, we can do more if we do what you do. So the main thing that we're looking for is that an organization is already implementing in water and sanitation, and secondly, that their philosophy is aligned with CAWST. They see that training and building other organizations' capacity is a way of reaching more people with access to safe water and sanitation. And then by working together, leading up to that point, we have a relationship and we're able to assess whether that is something that we can do together. And then there's multiple criteria, and if anyone wanted the details, we can provide that to you. Are there any other final questions before I close the floor? All right, seeing none. Oh, one down here. Perfect. Diana, there's a mic coming.
I was wondering if any of the wave makers program.
Aha. Not yet. We have been getting pull from clients and wet centers to be able to support them with a wave makers equivalent, and we actually have planned for next year our first pilot to take what we've learned internationally and also what we've learned here at home to be able to help them with their water in schools and to set up their equivalent. Yeah. Okay, that concludes the question period. I'll see you out in the reception afterwards, and I'll pass it over to Taryn.
I'm really quick. I just would really like to introduce David O'Brien to please come up, and he has a few words for us this evening.
Thank you. I just like to reflect for a couple of minutes on the importance of water and cost. As was said in the video, water is life. Water is the reason we can say the name. Without water, we all perish. We in the developed world usually only appreciate water in its absence, and we largely take for granted that the water we drink will be clean. In many parts of the world, and especially in the poorest countries, people do not have easy access to clean water. Without a process to clean it, water can cause many serious diseases, as Shauna has said, and even death, especially among the newborn and children under the age of 5. What CAWST does is it builds local knowledge and skills to enable the poor to obtain clean household water, and CAWST integrates that with training in better sanitation and hygiene. The goal is to create healthy homes. And we will, in the coming years, talk more and more about that goal of creating healthy homes where both clean water, adequate sanitation, and good hygiene are present. In the last year alone, it was pointed out that CAWST reached more than 2 million people with better water or sanitation. Just think of that, 2 million people. Not bad for a small little not-for-profit based in Calgary, Alberta. CAWST is working in building communities' capacity to achieve clean water and better sanitation, and is having an enormous positive impact. And I can say we're looking to the future with great optimism. It's worthwhile repeating a couple of key points that Shauna has already made. We have built an enormous organizational capability with the 50-person team, up from 15 or so just a few years ago. And that team now can deliver services in the wash sector and reach across the globe. In addition, we are actively working to integrate our 3 service delivery platforms that Shauna referred to, the direct service, the wet centers, and the virtual wet center. And as we perfect that, it will enable us to reach more and more people in over 150 countries that are seeking our training, education, and consulting services. We are a demand-driven organization. We respond to the demand around the world for our services, and that's really an important point. It's not as though we go out all the time trying to sell our services. We respond to the demand that is there. And increasingly with the technology, virtual wet center, etc., we are seeing that that demand is overwhelming, and we're delighted to have the chance to respond. We are building local knowledge and skills so that people can take care of their own needs in water and sanitation. And to repeat an old saying, I know you've all heard it, but it really makes the point, that if you give a man a fish, you'll feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime. CAWST is building local knowledge and skills to enable communities to meet their own water, sanitation, and hygiene needs for generations to come. What CAWST does is both scalable and sustainable, and it deals with the root causes of so many diseases and often death. Your support for CAWST provides enormous bang for the buck. As Shauna said, economists recognize that payback in health initiatives such as clean water and adequate sanitation have the highest payback of any activity in terms of improving lives and enabling people to rise out of poverty. I and my fellow board members are very proud to be involved with CAWST and such an important social cause. The CAWST Board of Directors is fully supportive of CAWST's vision, that is, a world where people have the opportunities to succeed because their basic water and sanitation needs have been met. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. It brings our official program to a close. I'd like to invite you all to join us upstairs in the gallery to enjoy some refreshments and celebrate with us. Just a little teaser for what you'll find up there is a little bit more information about CAWST, what we do and how we do it. All of our wonderful staff who will be wearing blue scarves. So any of the questions that were answered this evening or any more that have popped into your head, I can guarantee you there are at least 5 or 6 people right now jumping up and down inside to answer them. And then some of you may have noticed that this year the postcards are missing. So at our AGM previously, we've had postcards in the AGM for people to write down what they want to do about water and sanitation globally and locally. That activity has been moved upstairs. So you'll find a booth that has a postcard, a blank postcard for you to fill out if you'd like to put something down that you would like to commit to doing to helping us achieve our vision and mission. And to make our world a better place. Put your address on there and we'll pop it in the mail at a secret time throughout the year, and you'll receive it to remind you of this evening and your commitment. So finally, thank you all very much for coming. Thank you all for your support throughout the year, and thank you for your support this evening. It would not be possible without you here. So please come up, meet us, shake our hands, say hello, ask us questions, and celebrate with us because we have lots to celebrate.